Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I have a pillow talk for you. Now, I haven't done a pillow talk in a really long time and I've only done one, I know. So after the first pillow talk, I will be quite honest. I did the one where I have never met my birth mother, and I will link that down below. After I did that video, I got like such a good response, but I will say that some of the people who were responding or DMing me or even emailing me, I felt kind of took it to another level, which I mean, I figured I was going to get opinions because opinions are given even when they're not even asked for, but just the extreme that some people went to was wow. When I did that video, I just wanted to say my story and my take on it and not really ask for like opinions or what I should do or whatever, because what's done is done and what has happened. And that's basically it. Like, I'm in a different stage of my life and there's nothing I honestly would change how I handle that situation and dealt with it, etc., etc. Just want to say that I'm going to do this pillow talk. I'm not sure if I'm going to put any other future ones where they're super personal, but I figured I would just kind of finish this one off. I know that people did get a little upset in the first one, not really sure why, because I mean, it's a personal story. It's not your story to be told. It is mine. For today's pillow talk is obviously by the title. I have zero relationship with my birth father. Now, if you guys watch the first video, you will know that my grandparents are the ones who raised me. So in my situation, my grandparents, regardless, are always mom and dad. But I called my dad Papa just because everybody called him Papa in my family. So that's what we call Papa, and all my aunts and uncles were my brothers and sisters. That's just how I was raised. They raised me since I was 3 months. You guys can go back to that video if you didn't see it. But right now I just kind of basically told you the base. So with this story, I will say it's a little bit different. Some people are kind of thinking I was hurt or angry or whatever at my situation of never meeting my birth mother, etc. But I really am not. I'm honestly great with it. I don't have any animosity whatsoever. If I ever felt a certain way, I would tell you guys. That's the whole point of the video, to let you know how I feel. Now, when it comes to this situation, I will say I'm more on the, not like angry, but just, yeah, I guess you can say angry or more pissed off with this kind of situation, just because you guys will hear about it right now. So when I was born, I think I said in the first one, I was given to my grandparents at 3 months, and they were either going to send me to Guam or they were going to keep me here in the States. So I stayed here in the States. My birth father, who is my mom's or my grandmother's, I call my mom, so I'm just going to say my mom because you guys know her as Mama Whoop Whoop, and her son, which is my birth father, went back to jail. Now, I'm not going to get into specifics of the reasons and all of that, but he went to jail. Ever since then, I was just always raised by my grandparents, and that was basically it. And going through grade school and junior high, my birth father was in and out of jail a lot. So I never lived with him. I didn't have a really close relationship. And whenever I was like, whenever he would come around when he wasn't in jail, it wasn't anything weird. When I was younger, they did tell me like, oh, like this is your dad, because obviously, I mean, what are you going to say? You have to tell me who he is, But I'm always someone where, now that I'm an adult and I understand things, those types of titles for mother and father are earned. They're not just given. And I think everybody can agree with that. When I was raised with my parents, like when he would come around, I didn't really feel like any true connection. I didn't see him all the time just because he was always so in and out. And he actually didn't really live that far from us as well. And I would never see him. So it's not like he really didn't get the chance to try to be in my life. He was not that far, but in the end, it probably was the best choice for him to kind of stay in his own world and what he was doing. So some stories that I remember when I was a kid was, I remember him trying to bring me to Disneyland, and I believe I was around like 7 or 8 years old, and he was married or engaged to one girl at the time. to one of his girlfriends. I forgot, but when they got married, I was the flower girl, and I looked like the most miserable and like the saddest flower girl ever. You see the pictures, I'm just like, and I honestly don't know if I understood. I mean, obviously I probably did, and I didn't want to be in the wedding for some reason, maybe because I was like confused, like what is this, what's this connection? That I can't really tell you because that was so long ago. Well, I do kind of know maybe, but it's just I don't know, as a kid I don't know how I processed it because my grandparents ended up not going to the wedding. So yeah, I found that out later on in life, obviously as an adult, but maybe that's why I was upset, because maybe they weren't there, and that's maybe why I had a sad face going down the aisle. Who knows? But my other aunts and uncles were there. So it's not like I wasn't, like, it's not like I was by myself. But I remember, so it was his wife. So sorry guys, I'm kind of like all over the place. So I remember his wife complaining, like, I don't want to go to Disneyland. Like, this is a waste of our time. And I remember her saying that like so loud where I can hear everything. And you know, when you're a kid, you like hear and you're like, whoa, like, it almost like scares you because it's not like I was super close to him. And obviously I was definitely not close to her at all. Don't really remember having like a real big relationship with any of the girls that he really dated, which he did date multiple girls. And I remember meeting like several, but I never had a connection with any of them. And I remember feeling just like so uncomfortable. So I remember him telling her like, don't worry, like if we go, I'll take you on a shopping spree. She's like, yeah, it better be a big shopping spree. And I remember this as a kid, you know? So we go to Disneyland, and you know, obviously my parents wanted me to build a relationship with him, and they didn't want to say no, especially if that's like your son. Like, put yourself in their situation, like this is our son, like, you know what harm can be done, like let's have them try to have a fun day or whatever. So that, I really don't blame them. I mean, I'm not upset at that. So we went to Disneyland, and we were there only a couple hours, and we came back. I remember my mom told me this the story like years later, as well, not years, but like several years later as an adult, that I went to Disneyland and I didn't want to write anything, whatever he asked me. And I remember this too, like asking if I was hungry, and I remember like seeing like the hot dogs. I was like, oh man, like I really want a hot dog and chips. But I just felt so uncomfortable, you know, because I didn't really know this man. And I remember just being there and just feeling like I was with a complete stranger. And like I said, we came back after a couple hours, and I basically like a whole trip that was just pointless. And my mom told me like I didn't want to go on any rides, I didn't want to eat and all of that, that I wasn't comfortable. So that's why he brought me back, because he could tell I was uncomfortable. And then once I got home, I was good. Other moments I can kind of remember is going over his house and him picking me up and hanging out at his house and not really doing too much. Like, I remember him bringing me to another girlfriend's house that he was dating before, and she had horses. And I remember as a girl, I was like really, really girly, always wearing dresses. And for some reason, I had a thing about pants. I never wanted to wear pants, which is just so weird, distinctly jeans. I just didn't like them as a kid. And I remember he was making me put on jeans because he wanted me to ride the horse with his girlfriend, and she wanted to teach me stuff or whatever and ride with me. But obviously I needed jeans, like thicker pants, and I was just so devastated and crying. And I remember putting on the pants, and I was just so like out of it because I don't know, I just always wore dresses and I love skirts, and that's what I was so used to. And I remember just feeling like, so again, just so like disconnected, kind of lost and all of that. And then another time, with the one that he did end up marrying, the first one, I don't know how many marriages he had. I believe he only had one. No, he had one. And so that same one, I remember we're just watching TV at his house, and I remember him kind of like acting, how do I explain it? Because my memory isn't like, I don't know, 100%, but almost like trying to act super cool, but making me feel uncomfortable, like cursing and stuff. You know, when you try to act like cool with your kids, almost that type of vibe. But I was much younger, so I was at that stage where like I understood him, but I didn't. But it was very off, you know, just uncomfortable. I remember him saying, you have to go in the back room, like you have to go now, like rushing me like big time. And then I remember his wife ended up grabbing me and like bringing me to the back room of his house, and then some men came over, and obviously you guys could probably, you know, use your imaginations there. And just, I remember like being in that room all by myself, like in their massive bedroom, like sitting on the floor, like so scared because I got so rushed, you know, because obviously I wasn't supposed to be there at that time. And I remember hearing all these men, and I remember like kind of cracking open the door and like looking down, but I couldn't really see anything. I could only hear like a bunch of male voices. So obviously you can tell nothing good was going on at that point. And then I remember also him trying to bring me to several barbecues of his friends, and just leaving me with like the kids randomly, like, oh, go play with them. And for me, you know, that was scary. I wasn't used to that. I didn't know anybody. So, yeah, that's about it. Like as a kid, I'm trying to like think of all the stories. Me being in high school, there are some stories where he ended up going to prison for a really long time. And I was at that point where I was just like, he's not my dad. Like, why do I have to talk to him? You know, like this is weird. And they finally convinced me, you know, hey, just give him a shot. You know what I mean? Because it's not like I didn't have some sort of relationship, I guess, with him before. Oh, wait. Well, let me backtrack a little. This is where it kind of gets like kind of weird for me. When I was in junior high and also grade school, he used to pick me up at my school, and I went to a super small private Catholic school. And I remember whenever he picked me up, he had like a super flashy like Porsche, and he was a bodybuilder, and he was like all roided out and like really muscular. So when he would come, obviously, like the parents look different. Not everybody is a bodybuilder, you know, especially like years back, like fitness wasn't, it was more like, I don't know, like you just, it wasn't common with everybody, like how fitness is so big right now. So I remember when he would pick me up, sorry if I'm not looking at the camera, I'm like really trying to recollect like everything I wanted to say because I didn't prep too much for the video. I just wanted it to be really natural and raw. But I remember when he would pick me up from school, all the kids would see him, and he would come and like rev his car. At the time, I thought it was cool because I'm a kid. I'm like, wow, look at this like cool fancy car. How awesome. He looks cool. And I was like at a stage where I was confused. You know, like I thought it was so cool. He had this car, like look how muscular he looks. But at the same time, I was embarrassed because then people would ask me like, wait, like I thought your mom is with your other dad, because my parents always volunteered at the school. And like I said, it was a really small Catholic school. You had to put in your community service hours and do bake sales and go to school functions and participate. And my parents always went on every single field trip that we went on. And yeah, they always went, and all my friends and all like the other kids knew them, and it was always fun because they would always, you know, hook us up with extra juice boxes and bring snacks and do like a whole lot of extra stuff. And so everybody loved it whenever they would come. But so then that's why they knew my parents so well too. And they would say like, wait, like especially in junior high, like, isn't your mom married to so and so? Like your mom's married to that buff guy? And that's when I started getting confused, like not really knowing how to answer it. I felt like embarrassed. I'm like, no, like that's my dad. And that's what I would say because I didn't really understand like how to answer those things to other people. It's like, oh, that's my dad. And I did call him dad like within those years because I didn't know what else to call him. I'm young, innocent. I don't know what other word, you know, what am I going to say? Sperm donor? Like I didn't know what that was. And I'm not going to say like uncle or brother, you know. So I was like, oh, that's my dad. And then again, more with the questions, but that doesn't make sense, blah, blah. And they're like, so you have two dads? I'm like so lost. And I remember like every single time I would get asked, like most of the time, at least one person would ask, like, who is that? And I even remember parents coming up to me and asking me about him, like, oh, who's that? And like I said, I came from a very small school. So people were like really nosy, I will say, and into everybody's business. Like if you sneeze, everybody knows that you sneezed, type of thing. So yeah, that I will say was kind of weird. And I was always in sports as a kid, and he would come to some of the games, not all of them, but just some of them, and just be really like extra. And I was very embarrassed by it in junior high. But that's the only time he really came. When it comes to high school, he's already in prison. He's been in prison for, now he's going to be in prison for a while. Started calling, and you know, you only have so many minutes to talk. So I would just talk to him. And every single time I talk to him, talk about music videos and different rappers with me, trying to sound like super cool. And after a while, like I would talk to him. Like I probably talked to him for like the first 2 years, I believe. And then after that, I basically got kind of fed up because my dad ended up passing away when I was a freshman in high school. And I kind of had like a lot of animosity because I remember when he went to prison, they did so much in order to try to get him less years, maybe get him out of the situation. They put in so many thousands of dollars, including like my other sisters and stuff. There was a lot of sacrifices and a lot of stress. There were people that were tapping our phones at the time. There was a van outside our house. There was a lot of people following us. I remember my papa even saying like, oh, like this man was following, and I would kind of hear some things, you know, on the sidelines, you know, because by that time I'm already older, so I'm processing things. I know what's kind of happening, and I would hear things, and there was just like so much tension, sacrifices, people freaking out, meetings, lawyers, so much. And then when my papa was in the hospital, he died from colon cancer. And when he passed away, I just felt like really angry because I remember him calling and like crying on the phone. And he was saying like, oh, I never got to see like my dad again and all of this. And to me, I got really upset, I think, at the time because I figured you brought so much pain to him, because I remember my papa just being just disappointed in him and always making comments about him. Like, what's wrong? Like, we put him in good schools. He was so smart. Like, where did we go wrong? Like, always just saying, like, why? You know, like, why? Like, why did he go down such a bad path? Like, everything that he was doing. So, my grandfather ended up passing away. And then 5 days later, my aunt, who was my other sister, passed away, the one who lived with me and my mom. So, went from a family of 4 to down to a family of 2. And being like 15, I was completely devastated. Like, I didn't even know what to do. That's when I kind of had to like grow up fast, and we had to figure out our situation, money wise, transportation wise, so many different things. Yeah, so I remember, and then obviously that was like my birth father's sister who passed away, so he was upset. But we went through so much, like so many situations where every single day I would like walk home from school to the hospital that she was at because it was that close, and I would stay with her for hours until someone else can go to the hospital, and then I would finally go home, and then I would go visit my dad in the other hospital, like especially like during the last month. It was so many sacrifices and so many things and problems we had to solve, especially with me not being able to drive because I was too young, and my mom not driving. She never drove, if FYI, because she got in a really bad car accident when she was younger, so she got really traumatized to even drive at all. And so my dad always was like, well, I'm the driver anyhow, so it's okay. So he never had her drive, and she tried like down like the road to get her license, but she never did. So at this point, we're literally like SOL, like shit out of luck. And I want to get into all those other stories, but there are other stories that, you know, drama and stuff that we went through. But then when I was probably like a sophomore, junior, like that's when I was just like, I'm done talking to him. Like, I'm so over it. Like, this is strange. This is weird. I have no connection with him. I owe him nothing. He's brought nothing but problems to our family. He did something really, really bad where he could have put my mom in a ton of danger and harm, and also could have possibly, you know, he basically could have made her be like a part of a situation that was completely illegal and just put us all in a lot of danger, but specifically my mom. So when that happened, I honestly was just like so over it. I'm not going to say the situation, but it's really bad, and still to this day angers me a lot. I want to get through this video without crying or being too upset. I'm not crying for him. I'm crying for my mom, just because she's my number one and my priority. So that really angered me. And then when I was like a junior, like I decided, okay, let me just say what hi, whatever, just to honestly please my mom. She's like, just talk to him for a little. I'm like, whatever. He's only on the phone for a couple minutes. It's not that bad. So I would just like kind of shoot the shit with him and just talk about literally nothing. Like the same stuff, trying to act cool, the same conversation with music and rappers and what movies, like stuff like that. It was just, and cursing a lot on the phone, trying to sound super, super like cool or whatever. And it was just very awkward and forced, and I didn't really care. And then it got to the point where he started telling me that he got like a cell phone snuck into the prison, and then he would call me like whispering, and I'm just thinking, this is just so weird. Why am I getting involved? I didn't want to stress other people out, but then obviously I would tell like my family what was going on. And he ended up, like, long story short, ended up giving my cell phone number to a couple of people that were handling bad situations, and would call me saying that they had to meet up with me, that they were going to give me something that I was supposed to hold on until someone else picked something up. Like, can you imagine, like, someone putting you in that situation? You know, like, you're putting your own family in that situation. That's, like, completely selfish. I can't even fathom, like, who even thinks like that, but you know, that's just how some people are. And so that made me really upset, and I told my family, and that created a whole thing. And from then on, I honestly was just so fed up, just because whatever he did, like, it was so crazy. For him being in prison, he still created so many problems, like a lot of problems. Like, he even created problems with like my other family. Like, I don't want to talk about the situation, you know, because it's not my place, but just so many problems. And it's like, man, someone can just be so selfish and just so, I don't know how to even explain it. It's just like, when you have that criminal mindset, that's what you are. You know, I've heard so many stories about him when he was younger and all the things he did, and he just grew up like a bad seed, even though he was brought up in such a good family, went to private school, had the best lessons, was so talented in so many different realms. Like, I will say he's extremely talented in a lot of things. He's literally like extremely smart. He can draw like crazy, crazy art, because he used to send art over to us, because what else can he really send? He could do like a lot of impersonations. He can play the piano like a whiz. So for someone being so talented in so many different categories, ended up just being, I mean, I don't want to say like useless or worthless, because you know, it's just hard to explain it, because I'm not someone where I have like a lot of animosity at all, but he's just someone where he just triggers something in me, like really just makes me upset. And I'm just gonna be very honest with you guys. That's how I feel. So now I'm just gonna fast forward, because there's like a lot of little stories I can say about the situation with him and problems and all of that. But I want to get to like the main situation where he finally comes out of prison. He was supposed to come out actually a couple years before, but something supposedly happened, or something didn't go through, whatever. He didn't get out. So I think he got out, and he kept saying, oh, this year, this year, this year. I think when he said this year, it ended up being like 3 years, and then he finally came out. Now, when he came out, it was extremely weird. I'm gonna say my version of story. I mean, I know my family watches these videos, but this is my truth and what I experienced. I'm not gonna be speaking for anybody else for sure. When he came out, we ended up meeting with like one of his sponsors or whatever, and with that sponsor, it's basically like, I don't know anything about this, but it's someone who sponsors someone who has been in prison, or I don't know, because I still don't even know to this day. But basically, people try to help others who are coming out of prison or jail or whatever, but prison, you know, that's serious. And then he came out, and long story short, comes out with like spending thousands of dollars on clothes from this lady, coming out with a Mercedes, not like a brand new one, but a Mercedes, which did cost some money. And I'm just thinking, how does someone who came out of like prison doing all these things and creating so many problems within the years, come out with all of that? Like, how do they get rewarded? Like, come out like nothing ever happened. And he was the same exact person. He's extremely flashy and cocky, thinks he knows it all, blah blah blah. That's my perception of him. That's how I take, you know, how he is. But I will say he's not like a complete terrible person. Like, you can talk to him. I try to talk to him. We would talk, and it's just a weird situation because I could get along with him. I really could. Gave him several chances, which is why I don't really feel guilty talking about this situation. But when he came out, it was just like, wow. Expecting everybody to basically throw a party for him. Like, he got really upset that people weren't like seeing him right away, or not everybody getting together to welcome him. And my mom, she said this thing, and I mean, it's funny to me, at least, because I mean, we have to make light of the situation because it was so stressful. She's like, well, it's not like you just came back from the Olympics, which is true, and I remember he got super upset at that, like so pissed off. It created a whole drama. He ended up being upset at my mom, thinking, how dare you, when you put her through so much stress. Like, you have no idea how much stress he put on her, especially her being by herself. Now she's a widow. Me and her are like a partnership, it was just us together, and we went through so much crap, like I said. So he kind of like cut off ties with that person who was giving him all this money and stuff, and he owed her money, and he refused to pay her back because I guess supposedly he said he was going to pay her back the money that she gave him to kind of like start off with. And he said, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to pay her, blah, blah, blah. Just like that. Like, he doesn't care. I'm like, wow. There's still so much I could say about the situation, but then now it's getting to the point where he needs to find a job. He can't, the sponsor's gone and all of that, and he's looking for a job. And out of all the places that he could get a job at, where does he get a job at? What did he do? What do you think he could do? What will accept him for being, in prison for so long and all of that? He gets a job out of all of the gyms, which he didn't even know what gym I was at or whatever, and he probably didn't even care at the time. Out of all the gyms he could applied to the one gym that I went to. And I remember my mom saying, I have something to tell you. Don't be upset, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what? So-and-so got a job at your gym. I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like, literally at my gym? Like, why? Say, okay, well, I'm just going to switch gyms because they're there. I'm not one to kind of stand down. I said, well, you know what? If he's there, I don't care. I have nothing to say to him. I'm going to work out like normal. I'm going to go to the gym like normal, and that's it. And obviously that's not how it kind of went. And I thought, it would be that way. I was just saying that just because I didn't know how else to react, because I was just so angry about everything that has been happening. So I was kind of like tough. I was like, well, screw that. I don't care. He's not going to push me out of my gym because I loved my gym. So I start hearing like different rumors from different trainers that I would talk to at the gym, like say hi, because that was my gym for like so long, and I would go there all the time, so I knew everybody over there. And then the trainer one time went into the bike room, and I was on the cycle. He comes up to me, he's like, hey, do you know that one trainer? He's like, this so-and-so, and like describing him, and I'm like, and I'm trying to act dumb, I really am, but I know exactly who he's talking about. He's like, yeah, his name's blah, 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 and I'm just like, oh, just play along with it, like, just keep going. He's like, yeah, he's saying that, like, you're his daughter, and I'm just like, why is he even saying this? Like, we don't even talk. We have no relation, no nothing. Yeah, like, he's always saying, oh, yeah, that girl, that pretty girl with the mega, that's my daughter. And he's telling literally everybody at the gym. Then I get asked by some other gym member, not even a trainer, not even someone who works there. Gym members are going out to me like, say, hey, that guy's your dad? I'm like, no. So the lie I had to say was, oh, he's a family friend. He just likes getting protective. My dad passed away when I was younger. And that's what I had to say. It was like the most uncomfortable situation. I was so upset because I'm like, how dare you? I'm like, how dare you? Like, who are you to like claim me like I'm yours? Like, and then some other guys like came up to me. That guy over there said that he's your dad. He said that he'll kick my ass or whatever if I try to ask you out or sit something like that. I don't know how, but I guess I got brought up, probably him bringing me up and like, oh yeah, like I guess he said I was pretty or cute, and he's like, oh well, I'll kick your ass if you try to date her or something. I'm like, creating all these stories and things that are just so unnecessary, and I just thought it was so weird where it got to the point where I saw him at the gym. I had to call him inside the cycle room when no one was around, and I told him, stop telling people that I'm your daughter. I talked to all of the trainers. I know exactly what you're saying, and you can't lie to me because I know what you're saying. Because he's someone where he's like a big compulsive liar. And he would be like, I'm not saying anything. Like, I don't care. I'm not mentioning you. And that's something he would say. It's just like a big time compulsive liar, like lie on lie on lie. And lo and behold, what do you think he said? He's like, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just like, okay, so all these people who've been coming up to me for like the past 2 to 3 weeks, I'm just making it up because I didn't react off of the first story. I was just like, let me just let it go. Like, it's only one thing, not a big deal, more and more. And then I lost it. Like, I blew up. I think it was my sister who's the one who told me to call him into the room and just say, just tell him, just straight tell him, like, tell him that is not right. Like, just let me live my life. Like, don't do that, you know. Go ahead and you work and let me just work out, just leave it at that. And I remember my sister did tell me to say that, and so I did. And then after that, I think he ended up just quitting or something like that, getting like another job somewhere else. And I was just so relieved. But he was there for quite a while. Well, not quite a while. Long for me, you know, because I would like see him randomly and I kind of like learned his schedule. So I would be there when he wasn't there, just so it wasn't awkward, you know, because I know he probably had to feel awkward. I don't know if he did or not, but yeah. So that happened. And that obviously made me annoyed. Oh, that's right. He did get his new job because then he comes over to my mom's house and obviously I'm there and I heard him. He's like, oh, you know, we were like not really on talking, like a whole talking relationship, but like we were. It was just very like, you know, like, yeah, today I'll talk to you. Today I'm just in my room kind of thing. So and so all these girls were at lunch and they were all watching YouTube video and it happened to be you on the screen. I was like, oh, hey, that's my daughter. And I looked at him, I was like, why are you telling people? And I lost it. And in my head, I was like, you know, that's not true. You know, you probably told people about my channel and to look me up because he knew about my channel. I don't really know how he found out. Maybe someone in my family or whatever told him about it. And this was like the first couple of years of me starting YouTube. So I think I was like, I think I was at 100,000 subscribers or something like that or below, but I for sure knew like, no, like they for sure were not in the lunchroom watching my video. I'm not viewed that much where, oh, it just so happens he saw it. You know what I mean? Like, what are the chances of that? So I knew that was a lie. I want people to say like, well, you know, he's proud of you, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but he's done so much effed up stuff, like so much, you know what I mean? And that's just the deal. So now a couple more years pass by and I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to talk to him. Lose it because at certain like holidays, he would just be so rude. He would come over, eat dinner, like be the first one to start eating, picking at everything, not even waiting for anybody, complaining about what certain food tastes like, adding things to certain dishes. Like, this isn't how you do it. And it's just so rude, just rude beyond measures. He would eat like a slob and he's like, oh, hey, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go over my friend's house really quick and then come back. And he would always leave, or he'd go to his girlfriend's house or whatever. I'm going to go meet my girlfriend because he got a girlfriend. He would say, oh, I'm going to go to her house. And then he would just like leave and never come back. And what made me upset was that people were expecting him to come back, especially my mom, like, oh, where is he? Is he coming back? That made me really upset, you know what I mean? Because that's her son. You know, I know that's such a weird thing. Like, it's a weird situation where she respects my opinion. All of my family respects my opinion, how I feel towards him. They totally agree with how I feel. They get it. Like, there's been a lot of stuff and they totally get it. And I let them feel how they want towards him because obviously they were raised as brothers and sisters, and this is, you know, they had such a good connection. This is before him going to prison and all of that. So we just kind of separate it. No one judges no one. Like, we all understand each other's standpoint. I don't tell, like, don't talk to him. No, like, I don't. I stay in my lane, and then they just go about their stuff with him. I would just feel frustrated because, like, my mom is hoping that he would stay because obviously she wants the best for him. She wants him to improve. She doesn't want him to go down the wrong path again because the percentage of someone coming out of jail is just so high. Like, they're just basically going back and back and back. And he did go back so many times. Like, so many times he was back in jail. But then he was gone for, like, a long portion. So now it comes to the point, like, years down the road again. A couple years down the road, obviously I'm engaged to Glenn, and I said, you know what, this is going to be time where I don't really want to separate anybody. Let me just try one more time. I talked to Glenn about it because Glenn would talk to him. Glenn has met him. Glenn has everything. Like, I'm telling you, he's not like an unlikable person. Like, you can talk to him like normal, but there's just so much effed up stuff that it's like he doesn't realize what he's done and he won't admit it and he doesn't want to know about it, and he'll say, I don't remember that. Like, so many things that even like my mom would try to remind him of, and he just thinks like he's done no wrong. I told Glenn, you know, like, what do you think about inviting him to the engagement party? Maybe I should, blah, blah, blah. Like, I wanted to do it for my family just so there wasn't any awkward moments, because when he was over for holidays and stuff, there were some awkward moments where I would just kind of separate myself from him. And so this time I was like, you know what, let's just shoot the shit. Let's just try to talk again, whatever, and make it good. And this is like so many times I've already tried after everything he's done, even after coming out. It's not like I'm holding a grudge from all the past. It's like he's done more things. Okay, let me just call him. So I end up calling him, and he's like in shock I'm calling him. And we kind of have like a heart to heart, like, hey, let's just squash this. Let's just act normal. I don't want anything to be weird. Like, let's just try to have like a normal relationship. Like, I had explained to him, you will never be my father or my dad or anything. He has already passed away, but I don't mind trying to start a relationship with you, whatever, you know. I just want to let you know like your place in my heart and how I feel and all that. So he's like, yeah, like I feel like, you know, the same, like it's awkward. And he starts, you know, having a heart to heart, whatever. The second I hang up with him to invite him after the engagement party, I'm like, yeah, come. We have the party, you know, it's coming up this weekend. So I called him like in the beginning of the week, and the party was on Saturday. I called him Monday or Tuesday. And I was like, let me just tell him now. So the second I hang up, like literally within 1 to 2 minutes, boom, I get a text from him. And I'm like, why is he texting me? I just hung up with him. And I remember turning the street, and I just got home, and I looked, and it's a message to a girl like, hey, so-and-so, do you want to come to my daughter's engagement party? She got engaged and blah, 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 and she's going to have a party here and here and there. Like inviting some girl that I didn't even know who the heck she was. So like, like nothing. So I flipped out, and I text him right away saying, who are you texting? You have no right to be giving any invitations to nobody that we have not invited or known. You are lucky that you are even getting an invitation. You have no place I flipped out. I did. So he texted me back saying, chill out. I won't bring her. He told me to chill out. I was like, I couldn't believe him. From there on, I was so upset. I didn't even want him to come, and I was just so pissed, and I honestly didn't think he was going to come, and he still showed up. And I had it in the back of my mind because he never officially said like, oh, I'm not going to come, but I figured by the way I responded and how I wrote back that text, like pretty, you know, tough, like don't, how dare you? You would think like, you know what, maybe I'm not going to come. He still came, and then when he gets there, immediately starts like telling the waiters left and right, give us this, give us that, we need more drinks, like ordering like rude, and ordering like my friend, hey, take this picture like of him and of my brother, like being extremely rude, just ordering people around like he's like the head honcho, like acting almost like I'm the father of the engaged girl, you know, kind of like that kind of role. I didn't let it ruin my whole entire engagement party, that's for damn sure. I had so much love and so many of my friends, and that's one thing, like he didn't really know anybody else except like my family. Just witnessing that, I even told Glenn, and Glenn's like, you know what, just ignore it. We have a beautiful night. We have our friends and family. I was like, you're right, you're right. So he kind of like brought me back, and I was just like, I'm just gonna ignore him. So I just ignored him honestly for the rest of the night, just because we had like a whole party area, and I was just like, just keep me the opposite side of him. And so then I remember he was also with like multiple girlfriends. Like he had like 2 or 3 girlfriends at the same time, and he was like going back and forth to each other's homes and saying like, oh, he was at my mom's house, and he was lying to them saying, oh, I'm helping her, she's sick, I'm helping her out. And it's just like, no, you're not, and she's not sick, and she's doing fine. He even had one of his girlfriends, I forgot which one, asked my mom like, oh, Lizzy's getting married, that's so great. And then my mom stopped her right away. She's like, so and so, she goes, you're extremely nice and sweet, but I already know where you're going with this. No, he is not invited, and that's going to be the end of the discussion. And my mom said that she had to put her foot down, because he's one of those people where it's like you have to shut him down in order to really get through to him. It's like you can't just kind of like tiptoe or kind of be nice about things. It's like, no, you gotta straight go for the gut and just cut things off immediately in order to get it through him, unfortunately, you know, because he's just one of those people. It's like you kind of give him a little and he's gonna take the whole thing. That's just how the pattern is, and that's what I have experienced and seen. Now that I got married and all that, it's already been probably like 2 years since I've seen him, or 2 years since I've talked, 2 years since I've seen him, I think. He doesn't really visit my mom. He only goes when he wants something, and that's it, really. Like, only if he's in the area because something broke down in his car and he's getting his car fixed by my mom's, that kind of thing. All right, guys, and that is it for my pillow talk. I know this one was a different vibe, so hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you guys want me to continue them, let me know down below. Tell me some topics down below that you guys want me to talk about. Thumbs them up too, so I know that that's what you want me to kind of touch base on for that topic of the pillow talk, because not everything has to be super, super personal. It's just I figured I would tell you kind of like some background and history of my life and things I have gone through, and just tell you those. But I can definitely do things on like dating, or I don't know. You guys let me know. Finding the one, or how I feel about relationships, holding your worth, like stuff like that. All right, guys, well, that is it for today's video. I hope you pineapples enjoy this one. Don't forget, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Subscribe so that you will see my upcoming videos. I mainly focus on beauty if you are new to this channel, but if you are new, hello, go check out my other videos. That is about it. All right, you pineapples, I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Mwah.
Here we go, it's all about you, it's all about me, it's all about what we do. Making art, you and me, trying to find something to believe.